hit snooze again, that little voice whispered. Just 5 more minutes. And just like that, another morning slips away, another promise broken, another chance to rise missed. Now let me ask you something. What if I told you your entire life could change before 8 a.m.? What if I told you that everything you want, discipline, power, control, confidence, is on the other side of that lazy impulse you keep feeding every single morning? We all want success. We all crave respect. But most people will never earn it. Not because they're not smart. Not because they're not talented. But because they haven't mastered the war that begins the second their eyes open. See, laziness is seductive. It doesn't show up in red flags and alarms. Laziness doesn't walk in wearing a warning label. It doesn't announce itself like an enemy. It's far more dangerous than that. It's charming. It shows up as comfort. It tells you you've earned a little extra rest. It wraps itself in the softness of your sheets, in the hum of your fan, in the quiet seduction of just a few more minutes. That's how it wins. Because while you think you're simply relaxing, you're actually surrendering. You're handing over the first hour of your day, your most powerful, most decisive time, to something that wants nothing more than to keep you exactly where you are. And here's the truth: comfort is not your friend. Comfort is a liar. It doesn't want you to grow. It doesn't want you to evolve. It wants you to pause, to postpone, to settle. And every time you listen to it, every time you hit snooze, you're agreeing to stay smaller than you were meant to be. People think laziness is about doing nothing. It's not. It's about doing what's easy. It's about choosing momentary pleasure over long-term power. And that's a dangerous habit because it teaches your mind that you don't lead. You follow comfort. You follow feelings. You follow impulses. And when you live like that, you hand over your life to whatever mood shows up in the morning. That's not control. That's chaos disguised as convenience. The moment your eyes open, you're not just waking up. You're entering a battlefield. Most people don't realize this. They think the fight starts out there, with their boss, with their bills, with their schedule. No. The real fight starts the second that alarm goes off. It's not just a sound, it's a call to war. And who are you fighting? That version of you that wants to stay comfortable, that version that whispers, "Sleep in, you'll start tomorrow." It's not a big deal. One day won't matter. That voice, that's the enemy, because what it really wants is for you to negotiate with your potential, to shrink a little more each day, to live life in retreat. But warriors don't negotiate with weakness. They confront it. They get up. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts, because they know that how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you lose this battle in the morning, what makes you think you'll win later when the real pressure hits? When the hard conversations show up, when life demands more than you're ready to give, you want to build strength. Then treat your morning like the war it is. Show up like your future depends on it. Because it does. You either command the start of your day or you surrender it. And there is no neutral. You're either training your mind to lead or you're teaching it to submit. Every morning is a test. Every morning is a decision. And only one version of you is going to walk off that battlefield victorious. The disciplined one. People wait for motivation like it's some divine force that's going to come down and rescue them from their own habits. But motivation is unreliable. It's inconsistent. It's emotional. And if your life depends on how you feel, you're already in trouble. That's where rituals come in. Rituals don't care how you feel. They don't negotiate. They don't ask permission. They just get done. Because they're not about mood. They're about identity. You want to transform your life. Don't look for inspiration. Build structure. Set the same alarm. Hydrate the same way. Train, stretch, reflect, move. Every single morning. Make it automatic. When it becomes ritual, it becomes real. You're not forcing yourself. You're becoming someone new. That's what rituals do. They rewire your brain to believe that action is your default, not procrastination. They give you control when the rest of the world feels out of it. Rituals are what separate professionals from amateurs. Amateurs wait until it's convenient. Professionals show up regardless. And when you ritualize your morning, you declare that you're not driven by chaos. You're driven by purpose. Purpose doesn't show up when it's easy. It shows up when you don't skip, when you show up tired, when you show up annoyed, when you show up uncertain, and still execute. That's what builds power, not hype, not caffeine, not playlists or motivational videos, but commitment, consistency, precision. When you have that, you don't chase results, you attract them. Because your life starts obeying your discipline, not your excuses. People think discipline is something you either have or you don't, that it's some kind of genetic trait reserved for Navy SEALs or Olympic athletes. That's a lie. Discipline isn't inherited. It's earned. And it's earned one hard choice at a time. You don't wake up with it. You build it by doing the thing you don't want to do, especially when you don't want to do it. You don't feel like getting up at 5 a.m. Good. Get up anyway. That resistance you feel, that's the training ground. That's the moment discipline is forged. Because anyone can move when they're excited. Anyone can act when they're comfortable. But the people who rise, who dominate their field, their craft, their mindset, they do it when it's inconvenient. That's what makes them dangerous. Discipline doesn't ask for your feelings, it asks for your decision. It shows up when the bed is warm, when the body is sore, when the motivation is gone, and that's where most people stop, right there at the edge of discomfort. But that edge, that's where growth begins. You either push past it, or you keep living inside a version of yourself that will never evolve. The brain learns through patterns. And if you keep teaching it that, I only act when I feel like it, you're training yourself to lose. But when you act in defiance of laziness, when you move while your mind begs you to wait, you're rewiring your identity. You're saying, I lead, I choose, I command. And once your brain learns that, that's when you become unstoppable. The moment you take control of your morning, you take control of everything. Your energy, your focus, your time, your decisions. The first hours after you wake up are not just hours, they're leverage. And how you use them determines whether you lead day or your day leads you. Most people wake up and immediately give their power away. They check their phone, scroll through someone else's life, let the world set the tone for them. That's not leadership, that's surrender. You want to win the day, then command the first hour of it like it belongs to you, because it does. That window, that early silence before the world starts making demands, that's where champions are made. That's where you train your mindset, build your body, reset your intention, and harden your discipline. Because by the time everyone else is still reacting, still scrambling, still trying to wake up, you've already trained. You've already thought. You've already moved. And now you're not surviving your day. You're dictating it. There's a reason the most effective, most powerful people in the world treat their mornings like sacred ground. Because they understand momentum. They know that the way you start is the way you continue. And if you start distracted, unorganized, half asleep, that's the tone you carry with you. But if you start with fire, with clarity, with discipline, that momentum doesn't just stay in the morning. It becomes your standard. And when that becomes your standard, everything changes. Your confidence rises because you're not just thinking about what you want. You're becoming someone who earns it. That's how you win the day before it even begins. Not with luck, not with perfect conditions, but with unshakable control over the most important part of your life, the start. Laziness doesn't just happen. It's not some random condition that hits you out of nowhere. It grows, and where it grows is always the same place. Disorder, chaos, a lack of structure. When your life has no system, when your environment is out of control, your mind follows. You think you're just having a slow start. But what's really happening is that your brain is adapting to mess, to indecision, to scattered energy. And what thrives in that environment? Laziness. You leave your bed unmade, your phone's buzzing with notifications, your clothes are piled on the chair again, your goals are somewhere in your head but never written down. That's not harmless. That's not a minor detail. That's a pattern. And every time you repeat that pattern, every time you let the small things slide, you're reinforcing a message. I don't really care. And the truth is, if you don't care about the small things, you will never have the power to take command of the big ones. Laziness loves a lack of direction. It survives in uncertainty. If you wake up without a plan, without a set of actions to execute, your brain will always default to what's easy, to what's familiar, to what feels good in the moment. You'll say, I'll just check my messages real quick. Or, I'll start after breakfast. And suddenly it's noon, and your energy's gone, your clarity's gone, and you're left wondering where the day went. That's not time management. That's sabotage. You don't fight laziness by yelling at yourself or trying to get motivated. You fight it by removing the chaos. You eliminate the variables. You create a system that leaves no space for hesitation. That's how elite performers think. That's how people who command their lives operate. They don't leave decisions to chance. They build rituals, habits, and order that keeps them aligned, even on the hard days. And it's not just about being busy. Anyone can be busy. The world is full of busy people who never get anywhere. It's about being structured with purpose. You wake up and you know, this is what I do first, then this. You eliminate the wasted space between thoughts, because in that space, laziness creeps in. You cut the noise before it becomes the soundtrack of your life. You wake up with intention, not reaction. Take a look at your physical space. What does your bedroom say about your mind? Is it clean, calm, precise? Or is it cluttered, chaotic, and full of distractions? Your environment reflects you. You want discipline. Build it into your surroundings. Put your phone away from your bed. Lay out your clothes the night before. Organize your morning so you don't have to think. You just do. That's what destroys laziness. When you move faster than your excuses. When you outpace your hesitation with action that's already been decided. Most people are addicted to reacting. They wake up and immediately respond to texts, emails, opinions. Their focus is stolen before they've even had a chance to set it. But you don't have to live like that. You can reclaim control. You can take the first hour of your day and make it yours. Not the world's, your job's, not anyone else's, yours. That's not selfish. That's smart. Because if you don't own your morning, you're renting your entire life to distraction. And understand this, laziness isn't just about inactivity. Sometimes, it shows up as business without depth, doing 100 things to avoid the one thing that actually matters. You answer emails, scroll articles, clean the house, call a friend. Also, you don't have to sit down and face the work that demands your full attention. That's avoidance in disguise. And it's dangerous because it feels productive, but it robs you of real progress. The antidote to that kind of laziness is clarity. You don't just get up and move. You get up with intention. You write down your targets. You know exactly what building and why. You're not guessing. You're executing. And when your mind has a clear mission, it doesn't get hijacked by distractions. It stays locked in. That's what discipline looks like. Not perfection, not constant grind, but unwavering clarity about what matters most, and the refusal to be pulled away from it. And yes, it takes work to build that kind of structure. It takes mental effort, emotional energy. But what's the alternative? Living on autopilot, letting laziness run your life while you convince yourself that you're just tired or not a morning person. That's not truth. That's programming. And you can change the program. You can rewrite the pattern, but you have to want it more than you want comfort. Start with what you control. Set a wake-up time and protect it. Don't negotiate it just because you feel tired. That's not your real voice. That's your old pattern trying to survive. Prepare your space. Clear the clutter. Build a physical environment that supports focus, not fragments it. And once you're up, move. Don't sit around. Don't reach for your phone. Train your body. Train your mind. Sit with intention. Journal. Visualize. Plan. And then execute, not because it feels good, because it's who you are becoming. Because that's the whole point. You're not just fighting laziness. You're building a new identity. Every time you act with discipline, you're casting a vote for the version of yourself that leads. That finishes what they start. That walks into any room with quiet confidence because they know exactly what they've conquered inside themselves. It's not about being perfect. You're going to slip. You're going to have days where the structure cracks, where chaos sneaks in. That's normal. What matters is that you don't let one moment of failure become a full collapse. You reset. You recommit. You start again, and this time, stronger. Because in the end, the people who rise, the people who stand out, the people who lead, they're not the ones who wait for everything to feel right. They're the ones who create right through ritual, through order, through unshakable systems that lock in their focus and squeeze out the voice of laziness before it ever gets a chance to speak. You want a different life. Start by creating a different morning. You want clarity, build it. You want control, design it. Because the truth is, laziness doesn't need to be fought. It needs to be out-organized, out-structured, outpaced. It cannot survive in the presence of daily, deliberate, disciplined action. That's how you kill chaos. That's how you crush hesitation. That's how you destroy laziness. Everyone wants to talk about the big things, success, transformation, discipline, but nobody wants to talk about the small habits. The ones that seem so simple, they almost feel irrelevant. But let me tell you something, real greatness doesn't begin in stadiums or spotlights. It starts in the quiet, in the unnoticed, in the private decisions that no one applauds. The way you begin your morning, the way you pour your water, the way you fold your clothes, the way you move with precision even when no one's watching. That's where the real transformation begins. You think making your bed doesn't matter. It does, because it's not about the bed. It's about the message. You're saying, I finish what I start. You're telling your mind, I respect my space. I value order. That one act sets the tone for every decision that follows. You hydrate in the morning. That's not just water. It's a signal to your body, I protect you. I honor you. I'm here to perform, not survive. These aren't small things. They're anchors. They ground you. They direct you. They remind you that discipline is built moment by moment, choice by choice. When you skip the small things, you don't just skip a task. You chip away at your identity. Every time you delay, you hesitate, you ignore the ritual, you weaken the signal. You allow chaos back in. And laziness, hesitation, indecision, they live in that space. But when you do the small things consistently, with purpose, with commitment, you become someone who can be trusted. Not by others, by yourself. And that's where confidence comes from. It doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. From knowing that you'll show up for yourself even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching. You take 10 minutes to stretch. You write down your priorities. You walk instead of scroll. These things seem tiny, but they create massive shifts in identity. Why? Because they teach your mind I take action no matter what. You're not building a task list. You're building trust. That's what separates the people who wish from the people who lead. The ones who wish hope things change. The ones who lead create the change, starting with their morning. They don't need drama, noise, or fire to feel motivated. Their fire is in the ritual. Their purpose lives in the pattern. They understand that the way you do the little things is the way you do everything. So yes, make the bed. Drink the water. Train when it's still dark outside. Sit in silence before the world gets loud. Stack those tiny wins, one on top of the other, until you've built an entire foundation that laziness can't touch. That's how you build a self so strong, you no longer rely on willpower. You rely on who you've become. People love to say, I don't have time. That's the most common excuse on the planet. But let's get something straight. No one has time. Time isn't sitting in your back pocket waiting for you to finally get serious. Time is taken. Time is claimed. And the people who rise before the sun, who show up with discipline before the day even begins, they aren't lucky, they're intentional. You think high performers, world-class operators, elite minds have extra hours? They don't. They just refuse to waste them. They don't hit snooze. They don't scroll through their feed the moment they open their eyes. They don't wait until they feel inspired. They move. They take ownership of the one resource they can never get back. Time. If you start your day in chaos, reacting to everything around you, you've already surrendered. You've already given away your edge. And don't confuse being busy with being effective. A full calendar means nothing if you're not in control of what fills it. The question isn't whether you're doing things. The question is, are you doing the right things? Are you doing them when you're at your sharpest? Are you doing them before the world pulls you in 100 directions? Mornings are not about checking boxes. They're about building your foundation. Before emails, before meetings, before your phone explodes with the demands of people who have no business setting the tone for your life. That's why your morning has to belong to you. Because if you don't claim it, someone else will. You want to kill laziness. Then stop waking up like someone with no plan. Stop reacting. Start owning the clock before the clock owns you. That means scheduling your wake-up time like your life depends on it, because it does. That means setting non-negotiables into your morning movement: clarity, fuel, silence. Not if I have time. As a law. The difference between people who lead and people who follow is this: followers let the day push them. Leaders push the day. They push back on the impulse to delay. They push back on the craving for comfort. They push back on the idea that they need to ease into it. No. You lead into it. You get ahead of the world before it has a chance to get ahead of you. Discipline is not built in a crisis. It's built in the quiet moments where no one's watching and no one's rewarding you. It's in the 5 a.m. alarm you don't want to hear. It's in the run you take when it's cold. It's in the first hour of your day that you own like a warrior. Because once you do that, once your morning becomes sacred territory, you start walking through your day with a different energy, a different certainty, a different kind of power. That power doesn't come from having more time. It comes from deciding that the time you do have is too valuable to waste. You don't get momentum by waiting. You don't get it by sitting around, hoping the right mood will show up and carry you into action. Momentum doesn't respond to hope. It responds to movement. You want to feel motivated, then move. Take the first step. Stand up, get uncomfortable, do the thing. Because once you move, you activate something powerful: proof. And that proof starts changing the way you see yourself. Every action you take becomes evidence. And evidence builds belief. You go for that run you didn't want to do. Now your brain has a new story: I do hard things. I show up. I don't wait for comfort. I move through resistance. That's how you build a mindset that isn't fragile, that doesn't need ideal conditions to perform. Laziness loses its grip the second you take control of your body, the second you stop negotiating with excuses and just start moving. Even if it's small, you drink a glass of water instead of coffee. That's momentum. You make your bed instead of leaving it messy. That's momentum. You do 10 push-ups instead of checking your phone. That's momentum. Because what matters most is that you don't stay still. Stagnation is fuel for laziness. Movement is the antidote. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be forward. And here's the true thing: once momentum builds, everything gets easier. Discipline feels lighter. Focus sharpens. Confidence expands. But most people never get there because they never get past the first move. They sit there waiting for some massive wave of motivation to strike. It doesn't. You strike first. You create your own wave. You break the inertia with action, not thoughts. Your brain is watching you. Every moment, every decision. It's learning what to expect from you. If you keep choosing delay, hesitation, procrastination, your brain learns that as your standard. But if you move, even in discomfort, even without energy, your brain learns something very different. It learns that action is non-negotiable, that hesitation is not welcome here, that forward is the only direction you recognize. So don't wait for energy. Generate it. Don't wait to feel ready. Prove that you are. That's how people who own their lives think. They don't worship mood. They don't chase perfect timing. They understand that once the body starts moving, the mind wakes up. Clarity sharpens. Strength rises. And once you taste that power, real power, you stop settling for anything less. Momentum is earned, and you earn it the moment you stop overthinking and start doing. That's where transformation begins. Not with a plan, not with a quote, not with a video, but with movement. Relentless, unapologetic, focused movement. That's how you break through laziness. And keep breaking through, day after day, until motion becomes who you are. Every morning, without fail, you are making a decision. Even if you think you're not choosing, you are. When that alarm goes off, you're either casting a vote for discipline or for delay. You're either choosing to lead yourself, or you're choosing to let comfort lead you. That decision may feel small in the moment, but it's not. Because who you are becoming is built one morning at a time. You want to know the truth. Hitting snooze isn't harmless. It's a message. It tells your mind, my goals can wait. My word means less than my mood. I choose comfort over growth. And you may not feel the damage in that moment, but over time it stacks. Every missed commitment compounds. Every morning you give away your power, you reinforce the belief that you are not in control. And that belief becomes a prison. But here's what no one tells you: you can vote your way out of that prison. Every single morning, you get another shot, another chance to choose differently. And no, you don't need a perfect track record. You don't need to be flawless. You need to decide, again and again, that you're not that person anymore. You're not the person who sleeps through purpose. You're not the person who delays change. You're the one who rises. On time. With intention. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That is how identity is shaped. Not in a moment of clarity. Not in a highlight reel. But in the grind of ordinary mornings where no one is watching and you still choose to show up. That's when real power is built. Not flashy, not loud. Just solid, consistent, unshakable alignment between who you say you are and how you act when the world is still quiet. Because here's the deal, it's not just about getting up early. It's about what that rising means. It means you are no longer living on default. It means you are no longer available for mediocrity. It means you are done giving your mornings away to distraction, to doubt, to excuses wrapped in soft pillows. It means you're serious. About your life. About your word. About who you're becoming. And once you start voting for that version of you over and over, it stops being a fight. It becomes your new standard, your new normal. And from that place, laziness doesn't stand a chance. Because it can't compete with someone who's decided, fully decided, that their life is too important to sleep through. So here's the truth you can't ignoring every morning. You are writing your future in real time. Not with your dreams, not with your plans, but with your actions. You either rise with purpose, or you shrink into passivity. You either lead yourself with structure, or you surrender to chaos. And that decision, it doesn't just define your day, it defines your identity. You want to destroy laziness, then stop negotiating with it. Stop giving it room to breathe. Drown it in discipline. Choke it out with consistency. Starve it with structure. Because once you start showing up with power in the smallest moments, laziness no longer has a place to hide. Your life doesn't change when you feel ready. It changes when you decide, I'm done waiting, done wasting mornings, done explaining mediocrity, done hitting snooze on my potential. And when you make that decision, really make it, you stop chasing motivation, you become it.